It follows. It follows, punishes escape through displacement. The curse transfers. The threat moves to someone else.
There was an old woman at school today. She was staring at me. It was like she was following me.
But moving the danger doesn't remove it. What makes this mechanism devastating is temporary relief. You pass the curse through intimacy. The entity stops following you. It follows them instead. But the structure ensures return. If the new carrier dies, the curse reverts. Back to you. Back to everyone in the chain. Escape isn't permanent, it's borrowed time. And every attempt to save yourself condemns someone else to the same awareness. You're not fighting a monster. You're managing a cycle. The film's geography reinforces this. Suburban spaces, empty pools, open fields. Nowhere feels safe because safety was never the option, only delay, and delay requires sacrifice. The atmosphere doesn't build to resolution, it builds to understanding that resolution isn't available. You can run, but running just means someone else dies first. But what if escape doesn't transfer the threat? What if it activates it? The descent. The descent traps its characters underground. But the real horror begins when one of them tries to leave alone. What makes escape worse here is betrayal embedded in survival. The group enters the cave system together. Danger escalates. Resources fail. Creatures emerge. And trust collapses. One character abandons another in order to survive, leaves them wounded, chooses personal escape over collective rescue, and that choice poisons everything that follows. The escape sequence shows the protagonist crawling through tightening passages, covered in blood, alone, traumatized. She reaches the surface, drives away. But the film's final image reveals she never left. The escape was hallucination, trauma-induced fantasy. The structure here is psychological collapse disguised as freedom. Escape doesn't make it worse because of external consequence. It makes it worse because it wasn't real. And realizing you're still trapped after believing you escaped is its own form of death. The mechanism isn't about what happened underground. It's about what happens when the mind creates exit as self-preservation and then strips it away. But what if escape doesn't fail? What if it succeeds and creates something worse? Get out. Get Out ends with escape that nearly becomes imprisonment. Chris survives the Armitage family, kills his captors, walks out of the house. But the structure reveals freedom isn't guaranteed by survival. Police lights appear, sirens approach, and Chris, a black man covered in blood standing over white bodies, understands immediately. What makes this escape devastating is context. He escaped the sunken place. He escaped the body snatching procedure. He escaped the auction.
Being African American has more advantage or disadvantage in the modern world.
But he's still in America, and in America, this scene has one outcome. The original ending had him arrested, tried for murders he committed in self-defense, imprisoned despite being the victim, escaped from one horror, leading directly into another. The structure here is systemic. You can fight individual threats. You can survive specific dangers, but you can't escape the larger structure those dangers exist within. The atmosphere doesn't celebrate his survival. It immediately undermines it. Because the film understands, escaping the house doesn't mean escaping the system. And the system was always the larger trap. But what if escape doesn't lead to another system? What if it reveals the larger threat? 10 Cloverfield Lane. 10 Cloverfield Lane traps Michelle in a bunker. Howard claims the world outside has ended.
How do you know that? Everyone outside of here is dead.
Chemical attack, contamination, death, and Michelle must decide, trust her captor or risk escape. She chooses escape. What makes this worse is confirmation. She fights her way out, overcomes Howard, reaches the surface, and discovers he was telling the truth. The world did end.
Help! I'm out here! Help!
Alien ships fill the sky. The air is toxic in some areas. Survival above ground is barely more possible than survival below. The structure here is traded captivity. She escaped imprisonment. But imprisonment offered food, shelter, predictability. The surface offers freedom. And freedom here means constant danger without resources. The atmosphere shifts from claustrophobic tension to vast exposure. Underground, the threat was localized. One man, one bunker. Clear parameters. Above ground, the threat is everywhere, and there's no door to lock. The film's final moments show her choosing to fight instead of hide. Not because fighting is safer, but because hiding is no longer possible. Escape removed the option of containment. And now survival means confronting what she wasn't ready to face. But what if escape doesn't reveal a larger threat? What if it loops back infinitely? A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place presents escape as impossible biology. The family lives in enforced silence. Every sound attracts the creatures. Survival depends on absolute quiet. But birth removes that option. What makes escape worse here is that the body betrays containment. The mother goes into labor, in a bathtub, while the creature stalks the house, and silence stops being viable. The baby will cry. Labor produces sound. Escape through continued hiding collapses. The structure forces confrontation, not because hiding was ineffective. But because biology made hiding impossible. Escape options narrow to a single choice. Make noise and fight, or make noise and die. Either way, the silence that protected them ends. The atmosphere throughout the film is sustained control, measured movement, careful breathing, planned routines. But birth strips control away. You can't negotiate with labor. You can't delay a newborn's cry. And in this world, unavoidable sound means unavoidable exposure. The family survives. But survival required abandoning the strategy that kept them alive. Escape from silence meant confronting what silence was designed to avoid. And once that threshold is crossed, there's no returning to the safety of stillness. But what if escape doesn't force confrontation? What if it simply reveals you were never trapped to begin with? The Village. The Village ends with escape revealing the trap was self-imposed. Ivy leaves the village, crosses the boundary, enters the woods everyone fears, and discovers there's nothing there. What makes this escape devastating is revelation without freedom. The monsters aren't real. The elders created them. The village is a controlled experiment. A group of people fleeing modern trauma built an isolated 19th century community.
Where are you from?
The woods.
You came from the woods. In there?
They invented threats to keep the next generation contained. And it worked. Ivy escapes the fabricated danger, reaches the boundary of the village, and finds the modern world still exists, just beyond the trees. The structure here is layered captivity. She escaped the monsters, but the monsters were never the trap. The trap was belief, and even after learning the truth, she returns to the village, not because she's forced.
Ivy has returned with medicines from the towns. She was attacked by a creature and killed it.
But because the elders convince her the lie is necessary. The atmosphere doesn't shift to relief. it shifts to complicity. Escape was always possible. The boundary was always artificial. But once you've invested in the lie, leaving means admitting you were fooled. And that admission is harder than staying. So she returns. And the village continues. Which escape feels worse? The one that leads somewhere darker, or the one that leads right back to where you started? Let me know in the comments.